that you're with us as always. We had an exciting round at round one, opening round. There were a couple of blowouts, well, many blowouts. There were a few pretty good games as well. And we, for the most part, did very, very well over our first long 9-game weekend to follow up opening round as well. And man, some of the games were crazy. We were on Richmond. We were on the Richmond money line. We threw it out there. It was there. We were all over the Richmond 50.5 or whatever it was points. There was heaps of exciting games to go through. We will go through and dissect a couple of the games we're on. We're going to be taking a look at the Blues and the Hawks on Thursday night from the MCG. We'll look at Western Bulldogs and Collingwood on Friday night, and then on Saturday night at Marble, it's going to be the Saints and the Cats. If we have some time, there's not too much happening on Sunday, but we might take a look at this Freo Sydney game because both teams badly need a win, and there's going to be plenty of value to be had. If this is your first time watching the show, this is Prop Nation. Normally do it with Sully. We normally do the NFL. We go through the whole season of NFL, but that's in the off season now. We will be bringing you NFL Draft, our favorite prop bets for the top 10 picks of the NFL Draft. And then Sully and I will also be doing our off-season NFL team previews. We'll go team by team, talk about the season ahead from a betting point of view. But this is the footy component of Prop Nation. Glad that you are checking it out. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That really helps us out. Did you know that there's like 67 or something % of you are watching this and not subscribed to the channel? So that really helps us out. Leave a comment as well. A couple of people have left some comments in weeks past, and we've had some really great feedback. And loved hearing some of your bets as well. Check us out on Reddit as well. I post close to game day or on game day. You'll see us Prop Nation on Reddit Sportsbook. And where we lay out our final lines. In this show, we generally just talk about a couple of ideas, a couple of our favorite options. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they change come in gay times. Take a look at, for instance, the D's and the Giants. Ed Langdon, we wanted to bet him, but he ended up being the medical sub at the last second. So that was a crazy move. There was a couple of interesting medical subs. There's also, you think that they probably could have used Sam Doherty, who had something like 12 disposals and 2 shots at goal in the fourth quarter. But actually, let's jump into that game. So let's jump into last weekend and how we went. We had a pretty good weekend. I think we finished 2-2 on the round. As I was saying, we jumped off Ed Langdon, but we still couldn't get across with, it was Brent Daniels injured himself early on in that game, so we lost out on the goal and the disposals. We were on Brent Daniels for that one. Other one we lost out on was this Blues-Tigers game. So we were on the Tigers, 49.5. That was a tick. We were on Jack Ross, tick. Jacob Hopper, tick. And for goal scorers, we had Tom Lynch for 2+ goals, and he just got the 1 goal. We also had Blake Acres for 20+ touches, and that came through as well. So what a game it was to open in the round. And let's talk about this Richmond-Carlton game. So we were on Richmond. If you were following along, you saw I even did it in the promo. I was talking that I wanted to give Richmond a little bit more credit, and there were a couple of reasons for wanting to do this. So first and foremost, we know that the Blues are not as good as people think they are. This happens every single year. They did surprise us a little bit by making it through the finals for a couple of years, but we know that they do crumble fairly easily. But that's sort of not what happened here. So a couple of things. Adam Uze, he's in his second year coaching. So we know that this is not a first year coach. This is a well-established, now he's established his system, and he's bringing in the guys that he wants to run his system. And we saw that. They had the number 1 overall pick in Sam Layla. He was awesome. They had pick 7, 12. We went over it last week. They had something like 7 picks in the first round or second round. So that was a factor. They had their veterans as well. So Camden McIntosh, he was playing fairly average. He actually ended up playing a fantastic game, doing the really gritty work. He wouldn't show up on the stats sheet, but this is where Adam Uze did particularly well, was he made the adjustments necessary. He saw that Jacob Wiedering was absolutely destroying them in the first quarter and nearly the first half with the intercept marks he was taking, and Patrick Cripps, of course, was destroying them as well. So he made a conscious decision to move Camden McIntosh to tag Patrick Cripps, which is crazy to say. Even when Cripps was in the ruck, Camden McIntosh was in the ruck with him as well. He was doing the really gritty work, and that worked really well for them. They shut down Jacob Wiedering as well, and then that killed the intercept marks. And The other thing that they did was they moved their forwards who were playing very high in the opening quarter. They moved them to sort of the forward 50 line to the midfield to apply way more pressure. And you saw they were tackling intensified in the forward area, and they just put pressure, and came back into the game and won. And what failed the Blues was Michael Voss at the end of the day. The skills were bad by the Blues, and there were a couple of really bad shots by, Lachlan Cowan just trying to punt it out of the forward 50 and, shanks it off the side of his boot and it gets marked in for a goal. But Michael Voss made no adjustments. He saw what was going on and said to his guys, let's stay the course. Let's practice what we've been practicing. We will prevail one way or another. And it just did not come to fruition. And that failure to adjust them cost them the game. And you would expect that from maybe a coach like Adam Uze. You wouldn't expect that from a coach like Michael Voss. So not going to get any easier for the Blues. And we're going to be talking about the Hawks and Blues game coming up first. I just wanted to touch on that because that was a very interesting game. We did do very well for the disposals, though. Richmond did look a lot better than public sentiment. Just lastly, the thing I want to say about the Tigers is I feel like we are so used to seeing the 2020 West Coast Eagles, one of the worst teams of all time. North Melbourne, we're so used to seeing them be bad for a really sustained period of time and never gets much better for them. But those two teams, they're outlier teams. Not every team is like that. The Saints, they might stay bad for a long time, but they're not always going to be like that. And like I was saying at the start, the Blues are overrated. We know the Blues are overrated, and we just don't know we have no information about this Tigers team. And that's why I was on the Tigers. The other games that we were looking at, the Friday night game, the Hawks and Bombers, was a good game to watch. I was watching it with my mates down the coast, and the Hawks did very well. I thought that the Bombers could cover the 22.5. They did fall short. They just needed one more goal, and they would have been there. But if you'd teased it out to sort of 28.5, you would have been okay. Jai Caldwell did awesome. Jai Newcombe, who had a down opening round game, he bounced back in a big way. So we were on those guys. And anytime goal scorers, we were on Jack Ginnivan and Nick Watson to bounce back. And sure enough, they did. So that was awesome to see that regression return to the norm. We got pretty unlucky with Kai Lohmann injuring himself as well in this one's Brisbane game, but otherwise that ticket would have been good. And then, like I was saying, we jumped off Ed Langdon at the last second, but it didn't matter because Brent Daniels got injured as well. But Ed Langdon playing the medical sub, I cannot make sense. So all in all, pretty good weekend. We went 2-2 in the end. We were happy with a few of the results that we had, and we're looking forward to betting this weekend as well. Although, mind you, there are not, with the Giants not playing, the Suns not playing, there are not too many standout games. But I'm expecting, there was a lot of blowouts in the round one of the footy. I'm expecting a lot of teams to bounce back. Expect Freo to bounce back in a big way. Expect Port Adelaide should bounce back in a big way as well in their respective matchups. And so let's get into it. We'll jump to the Thursday night football game at the MCG. Looks like we're expecting a little bit of rain, but the Blues are taking on the Hawks, and maybe that will be the great neutralizer for them. Hawks are favoured -16.5. Believe this game opened -18.5, so money's coming in on the Blues, and the over-under is sitting at 166.5. Injuries for the Blues. Well, we got the news in late after we recorded last week's episode, but Elijah Hollins has taken some time out of the game, so we did have a little look his way, but if you would have got the news as well, he was not bettable. Nick Newman still is going to be out with his knee injury as well, and the other big one was Jagger Smith as well. Knee will be done for the season that he did. But we'll say Charlie Curnow should be playing in this game. He's not on the injury report. He had a knee injury, but he should be good to go, which is going to impact the Blues in a big way. And I think that they might make the adjustments. And I wonder if that's why the line is moving back towards the Blues. We'll start with disposals for the Blues. And there's a couple of plays that stand out for really, really good value. First of all, Tom Koenig had a huge game last week, 28 disposals. He was playing in the ruck and he was doing it all. He's sort of turning into one of those new age sort of hybrid ruckmen who runs around the field, goes through the midfield with the on-ballers and has a big impact. He's not like one of those traditional rucks who just taps the ball and then stands there and watches the rest of his team hit it around the field. And you can still get some decent value at him for 20-plus disposals at around about $1.60. And I quite like that. Model quite like that as well as 22%. So look his way. I was throwing a bit of hate out there last week towards Adam Chera, which I've been doing last year and the year before that. and I might have to jump off that now because he did end up with 26 touches over the weekend as well, and he has decreased in value massively. Jacob Windhager, who looked fairly good intercepting the ball last week, he had 21 disposals. Don't expect to bet him too much, especially if he's not getting as many intercept marks as he had last week, which he got pretty lucky with. Patrick Cripps as well, 32 touches last week. Expect him to, you can still get some value on him for 25 plus touches, which I actually don't mind. This is doing a 25 plus touches for Patrick Cripps and Sam Walsh. He had 25 last weekend. Expect that to increase in this game against the Hawks, where I think they'll be playing through the midfield quite a lot. And then typically I do like betting Blake Acres. He had 21 disposals last week. I just don't feel like we're quite getting the value this week at $1.42 for 20 plus touches. He has hit it 3 of the last 5 games, but and he's come close in those other games. But Adam Chera looked really, really good. And usually Blake Acres has been the beneficiary of Adam Chera being bad. That's why we're on him last week. I think we got bailed out, all things considered, last week. And plus he kicked a goal as well, so we got lucky there. So I'm just going to sit back and watch this Adam Chera, Blake Acres situation unfold. The other interesting one that'll be to watch for would be Lucas Camporelli, who was in his first game last week. He played a pretty good game, finished with 20 disposals as well. If we take a look at anytime goal scorer for the Blues, well, he's not on the board right now because he didn't play last week, but it's got to be Charlie Curnow for 2 goals. That's typically always safe bet. You can still get some decent value on it as well at $1.45. A couple of plays we're going to look at this week for anytime goal scorer. We're going to look at Jesse Motlop, who Model likes the best. He had 2 shots at goal last week for no goals, and he had the 4 score involvements. So we think that he should be okay. And word on the street is that Brody Kemp may not be playing, and I'm saying that because he's just not listed anywhere for anytime goal scorer as well. It didn't come up on the injury report at this stage, though, so maybe that still needs to be updated. But Jesse Motlop should be the beneficiary of that. Other one that could be the beneficiary of that is Zach Williams, who had 1 goal last week, had 3 shots at goal, though, and 6 score involvements as well. And he was playing in the half-forward line. He used to play in the defense. Moved him up forward. We'll see if that sticks around given the result of the game. But a couple of plays that we like there is between Zach Williams and Jesse Motlop as well. And for what it's worth, you could take a long shot on Patrick Cripps to step up and kick a goal. He had 2 shots at goal last week. He had 9 score involvements. Of course he did. He's always everywhere. And no goals. So he's standing out the most as well for the Blues. Moving over to the Hawks side of the ball, a couple of players who we're going to miss this week. Jack Scrimshaw in last week's game did get concussed, so he's going to be out 1 to 2 weeks. James Worpel, not expected to be back anytime soon. Has avoided surgery, though, so that is the good thing for his high ankle sprain. But expect him to still be out another 3 weeks. And, of course, Cal Shadir, still no timeline on him to return. So let's take a look at disposals for the Hawks. Well, got to forgive this guy. Karl Amon, he backed up his opening round game with a fantastic 28 possession game against the Bombers last week, and he seems to be all over the field at the moment, which is awesome to see. He's playing really, really well. So let's stick to our guns with Karl Amon because we're getting some pretty decent value on him. You can still tack him on at the moment for $1.27 with that value, and we're kind of a little bit off Massimo D'Ambrosio at the moment as well, and it seems like his disposals are going in that direction, plus with the addition of Worpel being out. So things are looking up for Jai Newcombe and Karl Amon as well. The other players starting to get a little bit more involved who you can get for 15 plus disposals if you want to be super conservative is Cam McKenzie starting to touch the ball a little bit more. You're not going to get as much value on him at $1.17, but he is still an option there if you want. Also, we were off Will Day. You might remember we said we're not going to bet Will Day. He's had a fantastic game, but we think we've missed the bus, and that paid off. He only had the 16 disposals last week, so dodged a bullet there. And the player I kind of want to jump off the most at the moment, we're on Dylan Moore heaps at the end of last year and even the first 2 games of this season, but he's been shot out of cannon. Everyone knows about him now. He's kicking so many goals as well, so we're not getting as much value out of him as we were in the past. Going to stay off him for now. He did have 21 disposals as well, but it's just a bit too risky, especially for the lack of value you're getting. He has had 5 goals from 8 shots at goal and 11 score involvements. So we're also lost a tremendous amount of value on him for anytime goal scorer, which we'll take a look at now for the Hawks. And like I said, We were jumping right on Jack Gunston and Nick Watson last week. It's just a matter of that sort of positive regression. They was such a non-factor in that opening round game. It was incredibly unlike them. So we liked, and the model liked them to be more involved last week. And I think it'll be the same again here. You're just not going to get as much value. So Jack Gunston's going to sit at $1.20. Blake Hardwick at $1.30. Stay away from him. He's down the field in defense. He's up in attack. He's similar to James Sicily. There's just no point in betting on him at all. For anytime goal scorers, realistically, the only players we're going to look at is Jack Gunston and Nick Watson, but they're just losing tremendous amount of value. Other one is Marbio Chol, who's usually been good for a goal every game. But again, $1.20, it's just not worth it. He's just not that caliber of player that's going to score a goal every single week of the year. And I do know he did it at the Suns a couple of years ago. So I just don't see it happening at the moment. There is one player you could extract a little bit of value from, and that is Finn McGuinness for $1.55. He is fairly well ranked in the appropriately in the likely to score. A little bit down the list, there's a few players that the model likes more, but he is pretty good value at $1.55. So you got to weigh up, you got to balance that one out, and so I'm okay with that one. Let's take a look at this ticket. We're going to go back with Old Faithfuls. We're going to go with Karl, Amon, and Jai Newcombe while James Warple's out. We think this is really good value, especially if they're going to keep tagging Will Day. The Blues may, in fact, do it. We're going to look at Patrick Cripps and or Sam Walsh for 25 plus disposals. That's pretty good value. That'll get you to $2.54. And I think that's where we're going to sit. I kind of don't want to bet Charlie Curnow. I want to see how he performs in his first game back. I'm sure he'll be fine. I just want to watch it first. And then on the Hawks side of the ball, we're not getting a huge amount of tremendous value on goal scorers. You could pencil in Jack Gunston if you want. It might get you a little bit further, but I'm pretty happy with the $2.50 at this stage with those four players. All right, let's take a look at the Friday night game. This one's going to be between the Western Bulldogs, who it's their home game against the Collingwood Magpies. And this game's at the MCG. The Dogs getting done dirty by that one. But yeah, you know, you got to make that bank AFL, so good for you. A couple of outs for the Dogs, plenty of outs for the Dogs, actually, and they only just scraped through last week against North Melbourne. Marcus Bontempelli is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to be the big one. Luke Cleary as well, concussed. We saw that horrific hit last week. Riley Garcia is still going to be out. Liam Jones is still out another 1 to 3 weeks. Johannesson out with a hamstring, 6 to 8 weeks. Treloar still out with a calf, 3 to 5 weeks. And of course, Cody Waitman, who I believe ruptured his Achilles over Christmas or something like that, he's still going to be out indefinitely. So no timeline to return. Plenty of injuries for the Dogs, but word on the street is they might get these players back sooner rather than later. Starting with the Dogs, who are 10.5-point underdogs in this game. The over-under is sitting at 174.5. We'll take a look at disposals for the Dogs, and some players stood up last week that we were not expecting. So Ed Richards, if you've been a long-time watcher of the Bulldogs, you know that he started to really come to form. And him and Libba, without Bontempelli there, he's moved into the midfield, so it's good to see him performing really well. The other one was Joel Frazier, who just has come out of nowhere seemingly, unless you're one of those heavy fantasy guys or you're heavy sports. But if you're the casual fan, I feel like doesn't know Joel Frazier's name too well, who had a really good game last week. From the full back line, he had 28 disposals, so he way over-indexed on expectation. Other one who did really well as well was Lockie Bramble as well, 21 disposals. You could have got a really good value on him for 15 is all you really needed. And like I said, Ed Richards 30, Bailey Dale as well, 29 disposals, so he was back to his usual best as well. Couple of other surprising ones to see was Matthew Kennedy in his first game for the Bulldogs. 23 disposals, not bad. He started on the interchange and he was playing through the wing and the midfield, so he was doing some really great work out there as well. And for some reason, models really jumped on Riley West. If you can get him for 15 plus disposals, we seem to like him. In fact, I can tell you, if you wanted to bet Riley West for 15 plus disposals, you can get him right now at $1.75. Which he had 19 disposals last week, and he's been playing on the wings. So that's pretty tasty, that pick. We might do that one as a little side bet and not put that in the multi. If we want to take a look at 20 plus touches, best bet that we're going to look at. So for $1.50, you can get Matthew Kennedy, who had 23 disposals last week. And like I said, started on the interchange, but has been playing on the wing and through the middle. So that looks like pretty good value, all things considered, where the team is not going to change too much outside of missing Cleary, who one of the younger players. So if Matthew Kennedy can step up in a big way, he's a vet, he's a well-experienced player from the Blues, and he knows how to play against the Pies as well. So he could be a best bet to take a look at as well. The other players, we're just not going to get as much value out of them. You could take a look at Joel Frazier again. It might be a flash in the pan, though. I don't fully expect that. He did have 19 disposals. The other, from the back end of last year, he did have 29 disposals as well in previous games that he's played, but you're going to have to go up to 25 plus touches if you want to get the best value out of some of these players, which, you know, to be fair, Tom Liberatore for $1.65 at 25 plus touches is not bad value. Ed Richards is $1.60 as well. So that's pretty good value, especially if you're going to be betting players like we just talked about, Patrick Cripps and Sam Walsh, who's nowhere near as good value as those guys. So don't mind that at all. Okay, goal scorers for the Dogs. There's two players who sort of stand out the most. Now, Sam Darcy only had the one goal last week, and you can get him for $1.65. Or Aaron Norton, who kicked 3 goals last week and had 4 shots at goal as well, so pretty efficient with the 8 score involvements from the half forward line. That's not bad at all. Same price at $1.65. So like what Aaron Norton brings to that one. But let's take a look at the Pies now. As far as injuries go, not too much to report, not too much affecting the team at the moment. You can talk about someone like Ash Johnson, who probably wouldn't be making the team anyway, I would have thought. Finn McRae out with a shoulder for 2 weeks, and Tom Mitchell still out with that foot indefinitely. So all in all, Pies are a pretty healthy team. Big back for the Pies as well. Jordan Go is expected to play. Will Hoskin-Elliott will also be expected to play or available to play as well. So those are two massive comebacks for the Pies, and coming off that huge win that they had last week against Port Adelaide, I think that they're going to be fully fired up, and they should pretty comfortably win this game as well. Start with disposals for the Pies, though, and the player that we're really jumping on at the moment, model's really loving, is Jack Crisp, who's probably a name you probably weren't expecting to see. This is going to be impacted, though, by the return of Jordan De Goey, who will probably take the Jack Crisp role. If you think about the midfield, it's mainly Nick Daicos, Scott Pendlebury as well playing on ball. Then you got Steele Sidebottom and Patrick Lipinski on the wings. Steele Sidebottom had an insane game, 31 disposals last week, and we really think he was also the beneficiary of Jordan De Goey being out as well. So be careful what you bet here. Nick Daicos has not been playing quite to expectation at this stage, whereas Josh Daicos, 26 disposals last week, seemed to be a lot better. Nick Daicos, to be fair, did have 26 disposals as well, but I think we more expect him to be up in that 30 sort of range, where he's not quite getting at the moment. A lot of Pies players are getting plenty of the ball at the moment. Last week, 8 players had more than 20 plus touches. And if you've listened to the pod in the off season, when we're talking about strategy, it's usually like 5 to 7 players on a team in a given game will get 20 plus touches. So to get any more than 7 is elite numbers. So that's where we're going to look at the moment. So let's have a look at our options for 20 plus disposals. And I'm very sad that Josh Daicos' experience is over. He is just no value anymore. We were getting him plenty at the end of last year. Dan Houston, you can get for $1.20. He had 27 disposals last week against his old side. Again, we'll see how these changes impact this. I'm not really looking towards Patrick Lipinski either. Harry Perryman, we were talking about Harry Perryman last week, and he massively dropped off. So maybe it was just a flash in the pan. Got to say, you can't actually bet Jordan De Goey. Currently, we're recording this one on Wednesday. There's no line for Jordan De Goey. So let's watch to see how we getting to game time. If Jordan De Goey doesn't play, we're going to be all over Jack Crisp. If he does play, I kind of want to be all over Jordan De Goey, depending on what the value is. So that's kind of how I want to play that. Everyone else, I'm going to step off. I'm not betting Nick Daicos for 25 plus disposals. He's just not really worth the $1.25 investment that you got to put in. If anything, you can get Josh Daicos at $1.50 for 25 plus touches, and he's much more of a sure thing at this stage. Goal scorers for the Pies. There's 3 players in mind that the model really loves because they're all yet to score a goal, and they've all had 3 shots at goal. Bo McCreary, who I just cannot stand, I'm sorry, but he's had 3 shots at goal, 9 score involvements, no goal. Ned Long, 3 shots at goal, 8 score involvements, no goal. And Will Hoskin-Elliott, 3 shots at goal, 4 score involvements, no goal as well. So they're particularly sticking out. And then for some reason, Harry Perryman is also particularly sticking out, as well as Jack Crisp. So Pies, after last week's win, super efficient in front of goals, it would seem. So going to be tricky to get any value out of these goal scorers. Brody Myercheck, you can't get him for any time goal scorer. Neither is Tim Membry, who had 4 goals last week. I still don't love it. Bobby Hill's the way I always like to play this for 2+ goals, but he's been pretty much doing this more often than not. So there may come a time where this slows down. But for $1.90 for 2+ goals, my money is going to be on Bobby Hill as a single. Probably not going to chuck that in the parlay. So let's take a look at the ticket. And at this stage, with the uncertainty around Jordan De Goey, I'm going to be mostly on the Bulldogs for this ticket. Ed Richards, 25+ disposals. I think that's a safe bet. Matthew Kennedy, 20+ touches. I think that is a safe bet as well. There haven't been too many changes at the Dogs side. And I might also go Aaron Norton for 2+ goals. I think that this is going to be a low-scoring Bulldogs game, so it makes me nervous. I just don't see it playing any other way. The only other thing I would put in this would be a Josh Daicos for 25+ touches as well, which will get you the most value. All right, let's finish up with the Saturday night game at Marvel. It's going to be between the Saints and the Cats in the annual Saints at Marvel destroying the Cats affair that we love to see here at Geelong. The Cats are 23.5-point favourites coming off their enormous win to Freo, and the Saints coming off their absolute drubbing over in Adelaide. Over-under is 172.5, and I actually kind of expect this to be a fairly high-scoring game. We'll start with the Cats, and we'll take a look injuries for them. So Jed Hughes is out 7 weeks or so with a finger injury. Tanner Bruin's not playing at the moment. Cam Guthrie, we know he's going to miss the season. Potentially he might finish up his career with the Achilles injury. Colin Jasny as well. Groin is out still 2 weeks as well. And then we're not expecting anyone really to come back anytime soon. Disposals for the Cats. Well, I mean, we were on Bailey Smith last week because I love Bailey Smith. I think this is the perfect landing spot for him. Even I did not expect this for him to get best on ground. 32 disposals, a goal. He should have had really 2 or 3 goals as well. He was everywhere. He was doing exactly what he was brought in to do. Move the ball, transition ball from the half back line all the way to the half forward line. Couple of bounces as well in there. He'd kick the ball down the field. I was at this Freo Geelong game. It was amazing to watch him move the ball. He would kick the ball with such precision and such accuracy. There was a moment in the 4th quarter where he kicks the ball down to a pack at the half forward line. And I think from memory, no Geelong players, I think it was meant to be Ollie Dempsey's ball or Sam de Koning's ball, and no one really went for it. And even with Geelong up by 60+ points, he was livid. He was furious at the ground. You wouldn't have seen it on camera, but that's just how hard he goes, how high his effort is and his work rate is. He always expects the best out of every single possession, every single play, and that was awesome to see. Would have liked a slow build from a betting standpoint because now he's at $1.17 for 20+ touches, so you're just not going to get that like you were in weeks gone by. But last week, you might have heard one of my favorite players to watch out for this year is Lawson Humphries. He had a fantastic Indigenous All-Star game. We were talking about this in opening round episode of the year, and he had 23 disposals on the weekend as well from the half back line. They've been playing him in defense, and he's really stood up to the occasion. So we're going to start exactly there. 20+ disposals. I want to go with Lawson Humphries, who is gaining a lot of traction. He's now at $1.35, so you're not getting as much as you were in weeks past where you're sort of around $1.70 and kind of been forgotten about a little bit. And then the player I expect a massive bounce back from. We bet him a lot last year, and he was usually good for us, and he had a really bad game last week for whatever reason. But Jack Bowes just finished with the 9 disposals, but $1.65, I think he could bounce back in a big way. If you're looking for a little bit more of a safer option, but still good value, Zach Guthrie as well has been playing really well, and Model likes him as well as Lawson Humphries to perform really well. So go with those guys. Look somewhere between Lawson Humphries and Zach Guthrie as well. Typically, you might have also been on Max Home for 25+ touches, which we were not last week. And lucky we were not because he finished with 24, just the one short. So Bailey Smith was really running amok everywhere. If you want to get Bailey Smith at $1.65 for 25+ touches, Be my guest. I'm not going to do it. I think he's going to be a fantastic player for the Cats. I just don't see it happening week after week, all season long. And Sam De Koning, who had 25 plus touches last week, that's insane. You can get pretty good value at him this week, $1.45 for 20 plus touches. Could do. Anytime goal scorer for the Cats. We're not going to spend too much time on this because we have been saying it for about 26 consecutive weeks that I've been doing the show. Jeremy Cameron for 2+ goals. We're just not getting as much value anymore out of it. He's $1.27. He had 4 goals last week. He had 2 goals in opening round. At the end of last season, 4 goals, 9 goals, 3 goals. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, but we're losing so much value on it now. And he could be in the Coleman race as well. So a little bit more value will be with Tyson Stengle for 2+ goals. And model still likes him, and he's highly accurate. And this should be a fairly okay matchup if it is high scoring. I know in years past, the Saints have been traditionally good defense and Ross Lyon good defense. But man, watching them last week, they just looked all out of sorts. We'll finish up with the Saints as well. And poor Saints who did not have a great affair last week against Adelaide. They really got beaten all facets of the field. And I'm not expecting huge things from the Crows. I've said this almost every single year. I always have them as a top 8 team or taking that next step forward, and they just never do. They definitely look the part over the weekend. But we'll see what happens here. I think the Saints might have had a tough matchup in Adelaide. They've also been missing a bunch of players. So Dan Butler is still out with his Achilles, 2 to 3 weeks. Liam Henry, he could play as a test with a knee injury. Max King has a knee injury, still 2 to 3 weeks. Mitch Owens didn't play last week, is expected to be back potentially this week. And then Cooper Sharman with his thumb injury as well. So see how that one plays out. Dan Butler is the big one though, and Max King as far as scoring for the Saints go. And I think that they're going to struggle against this Geelong defense, particularly when players who I've really put a lot of pressure on to perform, who I don't think have been, such as Jack Henry. He had a fantastic game last week. So hopefully he's back to full health. We'll start with disposals for the Saints, and Jack Macrae, first time playing for the Saints for his new team in his 250th game, getting smashed but getting 34 disposals. What else is new with Jack Macrae? Just doing Jack Macrae things, so awesome to see. Not going to get a huge amount of value for him at 20 plus touches. Not going to get a huge amount of value for him at 25 plus touches either at $1.17. So really, it looks like the entire team is running through him at the moment. So we might stay off him. I'm not going to bet him for 30 plus at all. Nasai Wanganeen-Malira, our guy for years and years and years, has now, he's in his 3rd year. Okay. $1.37 for 25 plus touches. So he's also taken a massive jump forward, but that's still who the model likes the most out of these guys. I will say at 20 plus touches, model loves Nasai Wanganeen-Malira. At 25 though, he drops off a huge cliff. So bit risky there. So player that it does really like, who had a good game last week. So Darcy Wilson playing out of the half forward line, which had 23 disposals, which is surprising to see. But I guess if the ball's not going to be in your forward line very much, you may as well make yourself useful and head down the ground, which he did. He's sitting at a fairly decent price of $1.70 for 20 plus touches. And in his last 3 games, he's had 23, 22, and 25. So, hey, maybe he is stepping up in a big way. I'd like to see a little bit more of him before I bet anything on him. I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of value on anyone else at the moment. Marcus Windhager, who we were on at the start of last year before he got injured, has reappeared as a potential outlet for 15 plus touches, which actually doesn't look too bad considering for 20 plus touches, you're going to have to get him at $2. But for 15 plus touches, you can get him at $1.25. So potentially not bad. Not sure what Russ Lyon completely thinks of Marcus Windhager at this point. Not sure what he really thinks of the entire team, though, as it stands right now. Anytime goal scorers for the Saints, well, Darcy Wilson standing out the most because he had 3 shots at goal, didn't convert any of them. He had 5 score involvements as well, so model likes him the most. And then there's just a bunch of guys. Max King had 2 goals from 4 shots at goal, so he did his part. Mason Wood had 2 goals from 3 shots at goal, so plenty of guys here that the model's not particularly interested in. I think, though, that Darcy Wilson could be the play here. Could be the go here. If you're going to bet any of the Saints, if you're going to bet any of the Saints, at $1.85 for any time goal scorer, and he can do it. He had 3 shots at goal last week. It's actually not too bad. It's just like a little side bet. We'll do that one as a side. All right, let's take a look at the ticket for this one. It's probably going to be an all cats affair at this point, just looking at the value. So we'll go with Lawson Humphries, 20 plus disposals. Not seeing a tremendous amount of value on anyone else at this point, and I don't really want to bet up Bailey Smith for 25. So what I will do is I'll go Jeremy Cameron for 2+ goals, and I'll go with Tyson Stengle as well for 2+ goals is the way I think I want to play this, I think. That's going to do it for round 2 of the footy. We've gone through 3 solid picks there. And if you want more games, check us out on Reddit. I will be on there posting a couple of my bets that the model likes as well, where you can pick up. It's where we do sort of seem to gain most of our subscribers from is through Reddit. And people listening on Apple and Spotify, particularly on Apple. We have a really, really strong listenership on Apple. You can follow my stupid content on Instagram as well. We're going through right and wrong and promos and all kinds of good things as well. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Twitter as well. And we're doing content on TikTok. We're not getting kicked off as well, which is beautiful to see as well. We'll be back with round 3 of the footy. We'll break down all the action from these games. There's going to be some good games, good games coming up, and we're off to a really good start of the season. And man, it is just good to be doing this content again for you. So enjoy the games of footy this weekend. We'll catch you soon. Goodbye.
Don't let the game play you. Stay in control. Gamble responsibly. In Australia, phone 1-800-858-858 for free and confidential support. In Canada, learn about safer play at Know the Risks from the Responsible Gambling Council at knowtherisks.ca. In America, must be 21 or older and present in Arizona. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Colorado, gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Connecticut, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Indiana, gambling problem, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Kansas, gambling problem, getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start or call 1-800-GAM-1234. In Michigan, gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. In New York, for help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Tennessee gambling problem, call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Prop Nation betting show is for entertainment purposes only and should in no way be considered financial advice.